Earning Hilchos Melochim Perek Vav Halacha Yud. Lo yehi lonis bilvad. The Rambam says not only trees alone. And now we go to the Peirush. Not only trees alone, since we don't know Halacha Ches and Tes, it's forbidden to chop down trees, but fruit trees. Here he adds, anybody who breaks vessels, begodim, or tears clothing, and destroys binyan, a building, and destroys a spring, and causes food to be thrown out in a way that is destruction. He transgresses this prohibition of do not destroy. This is in Dvarim 20 verse 19, but you only get Malchus, on these other items, only rabbinical lashes, not Minat Torah. I guess the Mishnah cites the source of Shabbos 105b. Somebody who tears garments in his anger, when he's angry, he breaks vessels, and he throws his money out in his anger. You should look upon it as being someone who serves idols, because that's the way the Yetzer Hara works. He says, do this, in other words, destroy X, and then after he tells him, destroy yourself, Nebuch. So he serves idols. He transgresses the prohibition of do not destroy. The Vaz cites a Bryce in Bava Kama 91b. Amalozah said, I heard that somebody who tears or renders garments on a dead person more than he has to, he receives Malchus. And even though that it would seem it's a deraisa, that's why he gets Malchus. But the Ravaz says the Rambam learns, according to Beleza, the Malchus is only Midrabanan. Magia, in the Mishnah Lamelach, the editor cites that the Mari Besach learned from the Rambam here that it's not a deraisa. And he points out that the Rambam had a text in Bava Kama 91b, like Tosis has there, that he transgresses, and not that you get lashes. You know, this mourning, when it comes to the laws of mourning and lamentations, the Rambam says, you teach a person so you should not be a destroyer, not cause vessels to be destroyed, and throw it to be destroyed because of a dead person. It's better to give them to poor people and not give them to be eaten by worms and maggots, to be buried with a dead person. And somebody who does throw out too much, he transgresses this prohibition. Therefore, so it tears more than he's supposed to, is like he destroys extra, and he transgresses Baltashkris. He writes there as well that one has to burn the bed and all the vessels that were part of the king's usage, or the head of a tribe. There, even though it would seem that the Goyim do this as well, and what the Goyim do is called Rae Gann Family. You're not allowed to do it. Here you may do so. But a regular person who passes away, there's a forbiddenness of destruction to destroy his vessels. And that's what we find in the words of Hilchos Yesodei. It's forbidden to bury somebody in silk garments or golden garments that have been encrusted with gold, even a Nasi Yisrael, because that's haughtiness and destruction. You transgress Baltashkis. The Vaz learned from Hilchos Yesodei, somebody who tears on a mace more than he has to, he transgresses and does not destroy. Because the Mishnah cites Shabbos. Here, the language of the Rambam says, if you break vessels and tear garments, even though it doesn't say that he transgresses on Baltashkis, it would seem he's referring to that. Chaim Kanievsky Shlita writes that the source of sealing a well is in Yalkut Shemoini, and sealing a well, it says Sashkis. And if he causes food to be thrown out as Ashkoso, he smell site Shabbos 140b. Amar Chizda. Chizda says, Mishi yochel echel lechem misoirem. Somebody can eat bread from barley. Oechel lechem mechiten, and he eats wheat bread, and he transgresses Baal Tashchis, even though he ate it. And certainly, somebody who causes it to be destroyed, he would transgress Baal Tashchis. The Toseftim of a Camel Perik Tes says, just like somebody who embarrasses his friend is obligated, is liable because by man, so he's liable for hurting someone else in the Shemayim. He brings the proof from destroying his clothing, and certainly the person. The Chazdik David says that it comes to teach you shouldn't think that somebody tears his clothes, he receives malchus, lashes because of al-tashchis, because it's only a heavenly punishment. The main aspect of the prohibition regards fruit trees, like the Rambam states here, that you don't get lashes on other things that you destroy, and he adds that the case of Mishnah did not see it necessary for what he said, because if they said they learned it, just like the Rambam, that there's no malchus by anything other than the trees. In the Mishnah, Kama 91, it says, somebody who hurts himself, he cuts himself, even though you're not allowed to do so, you don't get lashes. Somebody who uproots saplings, even though he's not allowed to do so, he's not liable. Others who did so are obligated to pay him. And Mosdos writes, that's according to Rae Gann 32b, that you get malchus and you pay. You get malchus because of sichois, to not destroy him, and you pay for the tree. There's Chaim questions why Mosdos didn't write that you're by any damages that he does, he has to pay for it if it's somebody else, even though he transgresses for destruction. And certainly there's no malchus and destruction, as we find in Malchus 22a. If you cut trees that are good, it says leisichos, not Baal Tashchis. And like the Rambam, that you only transgress Baal Tashchis, but you do not receive malchus. Now, do not destroy. Is this a forbidden min Torah or not? The Rae Gann is of the opinion that Baal Tashchis that we discuss here is only rabbinical, and therefore you only get rabbinical lashes. But some Seifers of the opinion that's deraisa. You don't get malchus because it's a law which is inclusive. It has many different things, like cutting a tree, but they're not good, and tearing clothing for a dead person more than necessary. But what it says, you should eat from it, you should not destroy it. It's alive specifically only to a tree. It makes fruits, that's where you get a malchus. Therefore, the Gemara Malchus 22a cites that if somebody cuts down trees that are good, it's malchus, because it says because that's a lav which is specific, not like sashlis, which is a lav which is general, and this does not accord with what the Mishnah says in the Neshem Aribasan, that the forbiddenness is derabbanan. It just explains that even though the forbiddenness is deraisa, you do not get malchus. Many of you is of the opinion that the Rambam accords with the idea that every Baal Tashchis is derabbanan, except for cutting down trees. The Steichemet, to begin with, thought that the Rambam is of the opinion that everything that's forbidden about Tashchis is only rabbinical, and then he changes his mind. He's of the opinion that everything is in deraisa, Because in Halacha Ches he writes, do not cut down trees, versus the sashris, and in Halacha Yud he says, and not only trees, but also any vessels that you break in anger, or tear garments, or destroy, etc. You transgress by sashris. You don't get malchus, only midrabanan. It means to say everything is included in the forbiddenness, and that's why he adds, and not only the trees are included, whatever you do is deraisa, but not the punishment is only Rabbanan. Because if destroying vessels would only be Rabbanan, he should have written all of those vessels that are broken, you transgress by tashchis, without including in it the trees, and therefore he says v'oiva. The Rambam, when he transgresses, is also used by items that we learn from an asmachta, from not a definitive teaching, but rather a scriptural support. And he adds that would seem to be the opinion of the Kesef Mishnah Halacha Ches. So too, save our mitzvahs. Rambam say mitzvah compilation of all the commandments. The mitzvah negative commandment 57. He writes, we are warned from destroying trees when we besiege a city, and there's also anyone who destroys anything is included in this prohibition, such as burning a garment for no reason, because it says from that you shall eat and you should not destroy, meaning you shouldn't destroy in general, you shouldn't cut down. Chinuch writes that we do not try to cut down trees, and therefore it says do not destroy the trees and do not cut it down, because it's included in the prohibition not to cause things to be lost, to burn, or to tear, or to break a vessel. All of these, and such as others like of the same type, have, the Gemara says it's forbidden because of al tashchis, and he clarifies that you only get malchus when you cut down trees, minat Torah. However, by other things, we give him lashes midrabanan, rabbinically. And since he had to explain why other things are forbidden in the prohibition of cutting down, we're seeing that there's a forbiddenness of not destruction, destroying from the Torah, but there's no lashes, and we have to explain it like the Stechemada that says because it's a specific law, therefore you get malchus, whereas that which is general you don't get malchus. Lashon Chinuch says on a tree that is a fruit tree, you would receive malchus, not anything else. But Chinuch says that even though you transgress on Isashas Minat Torah, the malchus he concurs is only midrabanan, except by the fruit tree. Stechemen argues that the Chinuch and the Rambam agree that it's deraisa. He says that the Mara Noiga on the Rambam teaches us that the opinion of the Rambam is that everything goes into the forbiddenness, the prohibition of do not destroy minat Torah. You don't get malchus on two things because they are not specific in the Torah, like in the Chinuch. On the other things, because they're not specifically written in the Torah. And that's Rambam Shita everywhere, where it's not specifically written, you would not get malchus minat Torah. He questions the Torah's Chaim, he writes, according to the Rambam, Baltashas deraisa only on the trees, other items, the Isses midrabanan, so he learned that the Rambam felt it's only the Rabbanan. The Stechemah wants to answer, but the Sefer HaMitzvahs writes that if he destroys something, he receives lashes, and here he writes that he does not receive lashes. We find different places that the Rambam uses the word lashes even for whipping the Rabbanan. But he writes, Ein Aloika, that he does not get malchus, is only minat Torah. And he pushes this idea off because the Yosef writes that Rambam doesn't write Loikim on the Rabbonans. And even if he would do so, still here he didn't write to cut down the tree by itself. Only after he explains regarding trees, all the laws, he writes, you get Malchus. You can't say in the word there are two intentions, and to say that on the tree, which he included in the forbiddenness, it's the horizon, and the other thing is the Rabbanon. That's very difficult to say. The Chemed cites that this Sefer Seder HaMitzvahs wants to explain this contradiction. Sefer HaMitzvahs, he felt it was deraisa, even on other things, and Melochim he recanted. Because the Hachazaka is always the final decision of the Rambam. The Chidor questions on the Arad HaRabbanon, who writes that the Rambam's opinion is Baltashkos by other things in the Rabbanon, and that is the opinion of the Mordechai. The Taz Tosfos that everything is Minat Torah is would be the Rambam's position. And he says that the Shulchan Aruch Harav, as to how we have to be careful about yourself, is the opinion that every destruction is Minat Torah. He writes, and anyone who breaks vessels or tears garments or destroys buildings or seals wells or causes food to be destroyed or drink, or it causes it to be unfit to be eaten, drunk, or throws money away, and so will cause anything to be unfit to be used by people. He transgresses on Sashkas is Eitzah, and not destroying that which Hashem is in His mercy has created. Maimonides permits to destroy in order to cause his family members to be in fear, like the Melochim we find in Shabbos 25b. He cites that the Rambam, Hilchos says anger is very bad. A person should distance himself to the other end of it. He shouldn't become angry even on something that he should become angry. Somebody wants to cause fear in his household, on his family, in order that they should become religious Jews. He should act as if he's angry, but he should be calm in his mind. The Rambam doesn't mention the Gemara Shabbos regarding destruction of vessels in his anger, that it would be permitted. Mr. Chemed also brings the words of the Kuntus Kehilo Shloimoi, who answers that the Smak and Sefer HaMitzvahs Kohen writes that the Shabbos is talking about that vessels that are broken already, if they would be complete, it would be forbidden to break them to begin with, even to cause his fear on his family. Mr. Chemed questions that in Moetzes and Kedushin 32a, it says even a vessel that's whole, you can break it, like a father who throws a wallet away, which is complete, in front of his son, to show, to see if his son will become upset. So we see there's no difference between a broken vessel to a whole one. And even though the Smak explains that this is the case, it's difficult to say that the Shulchan Aruch agreed with the Smak against Tosfos and the Machon Nesher and the Rosh, the Smak that did not differentiate in this fashion. Therefore, the Chemed says that the Shulchan Aruch is of the opinion like the Meiri. It says that it's correct for every person that he should not destroy things, tear garments, and even for the purpose of causing fear in his house. Maybe they'll learn from him people that are not correct, and they'll permit it to do it even not to cause fear. And certainly, Shulchan Aruch did not mean that one should destroy complete garments. There are those who want to infer this from the Marashah. Makes a difference between vessels that are broken to whole ones, and so it would seem by the Chinuch, but the Yereim is of the opinion like the Meiri, that you can break whole vessels in order to cause the fear that's necessary to conduct a house that will be brought up properly.